The hired guns, how Labour.net undermines workers' rights. Most South Africans believe the CCMA exists to protect workers, to make sure that fairness and justice prevail when someone is unfairly dismissed. But what if I told you there's a growing industry quietly working against that principle, and it's completely legal? Companies that can't find a valid reason to fire someone no longer rely on internal HR. They bring in external consultants, private firms like Labour.net. They market themselves as independent HR and IR experts, but in reality, they're paid by the employer. So when they chair a disciplinary hearing, whose side do you think they're on? I've seen it firsthand. They cross-question the employee aggressively, ignore key evidence, and somehow the outcome is always the same: dismissed or found guilty, whatever the company wants. This is not an isolated story. It's a pattern, one that no one talks about. I've personally dealt with Labour.net twice. My wife once. And I've spoken to others with the same experience. No genuine evidence of wrongdoing. Witnesses ignored. Important proof, like CCTV or emails, was conveniently left out. And at the end, a guilty finding rubber-stamped by the very people paid to find it. These firms aren't called in when a company has a clear case. They're brought in when the company has no case, when they need someone to manufacture one. Judge. Jury. Paid by the boss. You might think, that's fine, I'll take it to the CCMA. But here's the twist. The CCMA knows about these consultants. They've seen these cases before. They don't deny their existence. And yet they continue to accept cases where the so-called independent chairperson was paid by the employer. So the process becomes a loop. The employer pays. The consultant fires you. The CCMA dismisses your claim because, on paper, the procedure looks correct. And the average worker, who can't afford legal help, is left broken, jobless, and silenced. Legal on paper. Unfair in practice. This isn't just bad HR. It's a systemic betrayal of South Africa's constitutional right to fair labor practices. Section 23 of our Constitution guarantees that right to every worker. Yet private contractors like Labour.net operate without proper oversight, and they've built a business on that loophole. Everyone has the right to fair labor practices. Everyone. If you or someone you know was dismissed through a Labour.net-led process, I want to hear from you. Share your story. Because when enough of us speak, the pattern becomes undeniable. And if you work for a company that uses these so-called independent consultants, remember, fairness cannot be bought. It's time to expose this network for what it really is. A paid weapon against ordinary South African workers. Let's break down exactly how the loophole works. Step 1. The employer decides to dismiss. Even without a valid cause, they summon the employee to a hearing. Step 2. Labour.net, or a similar firm, chairs the hearing. They're paid by the employer. They cross-question the employee aggressively, ignore favorable evidence, and issue a guilty verdict. Step 3. The CCMA reviews the case. But the CCMA looks almost exclusively at procedure. Was a hearing held? Was the employee notified? Were minutes taken? They do not examine whether the reason for dismissal was fair or whether any coaching or warnings were ever given. The result: procedurally correct. Substantively unfair. Unrepresented workers rarely stand a chance. It's systematic, built into the very rules that were meant to protect us. Consultants exploit that, because they know that as long as the paperwork is perfect, the injustice will stand. But awareness is power. The more we expose these patterns, the harder they are to deny. This is not just about one company. It's about a broken system that lets fairness be bought and justice be delayed. Justice shouldn't depend on your payslip. But for too many South Africans, it still does. If you've experienced this, share your story. Email awarenesselevated@gmail.com. Post in the comments. #expose the hired guns. Fair labor for all.